Oh, hell yeah.
This is Dubs OT.
Can't wait.
With John Dickinson.
Hey, JD, what you up to, sugar? Long time no talk to.
On KNBR 104.5 and 6.8. Streaming live at knbr.com and on the KNBR app.
Shireman will hoist. No good on the three. Rebound Pajemski looking to run. 3-on-2 if they hustle. And Derek White was the one that hustled and poked it away. Shireman walks it with three.
So Derek White hits the momentum initial busting three. The dead sprint to create another turnover into a three. That's a 6-point swing he's involved with.
Yeah, that was pretty much the game early in the fourth quarter, and it was a rough night for the Warriors in Beantown as the Celtics continue to roll. They got Jason Tatum back. They're battling for the top spot in the Eastern Conference, and they got a lot of real good young players and players they've developed, role players as well, and they handed to the Warriors tonight the shorthanded Dubs back in Boston, site of their most recent NBA championship victory back in 2022. But tonight it's all Celtics. 120-99 is the final in favor of Boston. We welcome you in. It is Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader. Phone number to participate in the program is, of course, 808-KNBR, 415-808-5627 to jump in and join the conversation. We do have Kyle Haar in our Daly City studios here tonight on this Wednesday. We're going to be joined by our buddy Joseph Dykus, who joined us in the 8 o'clock hour, covers the Warriors from the Mercury News, and was on hand in Boston, not only at the game tonight, and we'll be writing about it for the Mercury News, but was on hand at the Warriors shoot-around earlier. And we'll give you a Steph Curry update because it continues, if you watch the game on ESPN, it continues to progress towards Steph inching closer here to a return in the next week or two. So we'll hear from Shams on that. We'll hear from Joseph Dykus as well, who was on hand in Boston. Our buddy Greg Silver is going to join us as well, Kyle, coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. So we're getting the band back together here for about a half hour tonight on Dubs OT in the 8 o'clock hour.
It's been too long.
Kyle, myself, of course, I've been doing a lot of filling in for the legend, Greg Papa, during his time away here as he's tending to the health matters. And sounds like from the latest check that everything going pretty well for Greg overall. So we're really happy about that. And so I've been working with Greg a lot during the day. And Greg's going to hop in and join Dubs OT here tonight. And then we'll be back together again tomorrow right here on the Sports Leader from 10 a.m. Until 2 p.m. Another night, truly, Kyle Haar, for the sickos. And this really is, I think, this really is the sicko road trip. I didn't want to categorize it as that too early, but now that the Warriors are halfway through, and at least if it's going to be somewhat painful on a lot of these nights, and there are different categories, right, of Warrior games we've seen this year. We've seen, since obviously Jimmy Butler went down on January the 19th, and Steph went down on January the 30th and hasn't played since. He's missed 19 straight games, and it's going to be 20 and 21 and 22 here coming up with the remainder of this trip. So basically a quarter of the season for Steph is going to be lost here at a minimum, and that's even counting toward him returning at the earliest possible time, which I would say would be a week from tonight when the Warriors take on Brooklyn. My goodness, by the way, did you see what Brooklyn did tonight in the first half against OKC? Whew. We'll tell you about that coming up a little bit later. But there's been a few – the post-Jimmy injury, Steph injury Warriors have had really like three types of games, I feel like. There are the games where the opposition just kind of lays down and the Warriors are super competitive, and therefore it turns into a relatively close and competitive type of a game until the better team ultimately flips the switch and says, hey, we're the better team tonight. We're going to take this game and win it. And sometimes maybe it gets a little too close for comfort, a la the game against the Knicks. Then there are the games where the Warriors have been taking on the tanking teams, which they have, to varying degrees of success. For the most part, they've handled business. They didn't really last week. But there's been those games that are kind of, never the should win. But if the Warriors bring the proper effort and energy against teams that are really going the opposite direction in the NBA here, you can earn yourself a victory in those games. And then there's been the games where you just look up and it's like, oh, yeah, the Warriors don't have a shot tonight. And they can compete. And I thought the Warriors tried tonight. I really do. Like, I don't think, competing was the issue. And in the first couple of minutes, you thought, Boston looks a little shaky. Like, is this going to be one of those games where the Celtics on their home floor kind of think they can just roll the balls out and beat the Warriors tonight? And then Boston is able to, in the first quarter, they just start hitting threes. And it winds up being a night where they end up only hitting 14 of 39 for the night. But the high percentage by which the Celtics were just shot making in the first quarter at 6 of 11, in the first half at 9 of 21 from 3-point range, and then through the first three quarters where they only hit a couple in the third, but it was really the first half to kind of set the Warriors back to a point where I think even they realized, just not going to have enough. And it winds up being a game where it felt just kind of comfortably anywhere between, let's say, 10 and 14 the whole night. And then the Celtics, push it up to 20. Warriors make a quick run from the time it was 89-69 in the fourth quarter to cut it down to 11. And there was a lot of the game tonight where you just kind of look up and the Warriors are down 12. Warriors are down 14, and you're thinking, it feels like they're down 25. It feels like they're down 27. Again, just kind of the plight for the Warriors in this one against a pretty well-oiled machine. Jason Tatum with, I think, his best game since he's returned from injury. Kristaps Porzingis goes back to Boston, doesn't play particularly well against the Celtics, 2 for 7 from 3, 11 points, 5 boards. And again, just, one of those nights where I don't know that it was necessarily embarrassing for the Warriors, but it's a night where they just very clearly weren't going to have enough going up against a team that has Jaylen Brown playing at, I think personally, an MVP caliber level of play. Jason Tatum coming back 24 and 10 off of the Achilles. And then, Keita really killed the Warriors in this one. Bunch of guys. Pritchard does his thing. I feel like Pritchard's a plus 15 or 20 every night. Peyton Pritchard ended up being a game high plus 25. Knocks down 3 threes, 19 points. He's getting in his bag, setting up those little mid-range pull-ups or setting up the threes. And just, a night where you look up and if you're the Warriors, you go, damn, like we don't have the best player on the court or the second best player on the court or the third best player on the court or the fourth best player on the court, or maybe even if you count Peyton Pritchard, the fifth best player on the court for Boston. When you look at Jaylen Brown and Tatum and White and Neemias Queta and Peyton Pritchard, and it just winds up being kind of one of the uglier nights of the season to this point during this stretch where I think for the most part the Warriors have been competitive, but just not enough shot making. You shoot 40%, 23% from 3. We've seen the Warriors on the nights where they do remain competitive. They're hitting threes. The ball's really moving. Tonight, it really wasn't the kind of night where the ball was really hopping around, and I think the Celtics tried to make that the case. But again, when the ball is hopping around and you don't make shots, then the assist numbers are going to be down, and when you're not hitting shots, it leads to transition opportunities. So just kind of a workman-like, methodical, plodding, just we're more talented than you win for the Boston Celtics in a season where the Boston Celtics, they didn't really know what the heck position they're kind of in a mini reset. And I think they deserve to be commended for the way that they've kind of handled the Jason Tatum injury, and they got off some other salaries and they brought in some young players and they really leaned on those young players a lot. And look, I don't think any of them are necessarily great players, but they get positive production out of Hauser. They get positive production out of Keita, who was somebody that was twirling around in the Sacramento organization for a year or two there. And then Boston winds up picking him up, and he winds up being, this quality, capable big man. Derek White's is underrated a player in the NBA, as you'll find. Peyton Pritchard, I think, is becoming one of the quietly underrated players in the NBA as well, as he continues on to develop in his career. So tough night for the Dubs. As they fall to 1-2 on the road trip. They fall back to 3 games under 500 overall. They are now even with Portland in the play-in race in the Western Conference, and Portland looks like they're about to win in Indiana. And I want to click over to see about Portland's up 6 at Indiana right now. That game's in the 4th. It looks like I'm trying to find the time left in that game. I'm scrolling through my league pass here as that game heads toward the stretch in Indianapolis. And yeah, Portland's up 6 with 2:15 to go. So Portland will be 9th with that victory and the Warriors' loss in the play-in tournament, which means the Warriors, if things ended tonight, would head up to Portland in the 9-10 matchup. But the good news is it does sound as if Steph Curry, all signs pointing toward the fact that he is going to be coming back, and he is going to be coming back maybe as soon as a week from now. But I think at the very latest, 2 weeks from now, when the Warriors have that 5-game homestand, which is going to begin coming up here on April the 1st, which is now 2 weeks from today. 808 KMBR, 415-808-5627. We'll get to the best YouTube chat in sports. We appreciate everybody filing in here, but let's get it going on the phone lines with JT in Oakland, who is our tip-off caller here. Early edition, Dubs OT with JD on the Sports Leader. What's going on, JT?
Hey, JD. Hey, yeah, I mean, in 2.5 weeks, they could be out of the playoffs, period. So, 2 things. Is it worth it to bring Steph back? I know he wants to play. Of course he wants to play, but is it worth it? Because the Warriors are just really hard to figure out right now. We have, 3 or 4 guys that could easily be in the G League. Inconsistent play, all these injuries, yes, of course, but I don't know if it's worth it. Of course he's going to want to play, but if we're like 3.
Yeah. Well, let me jump in here real quick. I mean, we've done this a few times, so I don't want to run through the whole logistics of the play-in. I mean, the Warriors have, and I'll just find it here real quick because I have it like a click away in terms of the standings. The Warriors have currently, even with tonight's loss that drops them at 3 under, the Warriors are 9 games up on the Grizzlies. So the Warriors could lose every game, and the Grizzlies would have to win 11 games here in like the last 15 basically for them to pass them. So they're going to be in the play-in tournament no matter what. They're going to be 9. They're going to be 10. I know there's some discussion. Can they get up to 8 as the Clippers struggle? But they are going to play basketball beyond the end of the regular season. It's just a matter of, is it going to be in Portland? Is it going to be at Chase Center? Are they going to have to beat Portland and either the Clippers or Phoenix or somebody? So from that standpoint, unless you're just willing to not even take your shot at trying to win, the 2 games that it would require. And look, you may not win them anyway. I mean, Portland is, even with Steph and Jimmy, Portland was a handful on the Warriors. So maybe you wind up going out. But I think Steph's healthy enough to play, and he wants to get out there. And so to me, you put him out there, and there isn't this great risk. I feel like it's, most likely we're talking about, 7 to 10 games tops. I'm sure he won't play all of them. And, you try to gear up to get into the play-in and win a couple of games. And if you can't, then you're right there in the lottery anyway.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I didn't realize there was that big of a cushion between the 10th team. Wow. So yeah, it's still a hard team to figure out. They're really hard to watch right now. So
Totally.
I'm totally looking forward to next year, and that lottery pick. We'll just see. I'm not too high on Mike Dunleavy as of now. I haven't really seen much out of him.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
There's a lot to be done.
No, there is, and thanks for the call. There is a lot to be done, and yeah, it's the difference between tanking and not tanking in today's NBA. That 9-game gap between where the Warriors are, and much of that cushion built up during the time in which obviously Steph and Jimmy were playing. But yeah, you couldn't drop out if you tried. When you look at what Memphis, New Orleans, Dallas, Utah, and the Kings are doing. And I know you said, is it worth, the Warriors are kind of hard to figure out. I don't really think they're hard to figure out right now. I think they're pretty well figured out at this point in terms of their level of talent. So we'll continue the conversation on that note as well. 808-KMBR, 415-808-5627, the number to jump in and join the conversation. We'll get you a Steph update coming up here as well. As Greg Silver's going to join us coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, Joseph Dykus at 8:30. Dubs OT expanded edition here. Warriors lose to Boston in Beantown, 120-99. We're here. We're talking about it. It's John Dickinson on the Sports Leader.
Live from downtown.
Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang!
This is Dubs OT with John Dickinson on the Sports Leader. Streaming live at knbr.com and on the KNBR app.
Says Pritchard intercepts that pass. Waits for the defender and then attacks and scores. And it's up to a 26-point lead.
Yeah, largest lead there for the Celtics of 26. They go on to win at 120-99. Kind of a meh game for the Warriors here as they fall to 1-2 on the trip. Games still to come in Detroit and Atlanta, along with Dallas coming up here on Monday before the Warriors return home. Could Steph Curry be back as soon as a week from tonight? I think it's possible when the Warriors get off this 6-game road trip. But Golden State, 33-36 now, 13 games to go for the Warriors. Again, 3 more on this road trip. And with the events of the evening here, kind of clicking around and looking at the NBA scoreboard as the Warriors lose this one. Portland wins, by the way, in Indiana. They polished off the Pacers. So the Warriors now find themselves behind Portland for 9th and 10th in the Western Conference play-in race. So the Warriors right now, as things sit, it would be 4 weeks from tonight on April the 15th. The Warriors would be in Portland in the one-off, basically in the same spot they were in 2 years ago when they went to Sacramento, and the Kings ended up knocking them out as the 10 seed going up against the 9 seed. And so the Blazers move a half game ahead with the tiebreaker on the Warriors here with 13 games to go for Golden State. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. The number to participate in the program. Golden State Lumber and Showroom text line is open. We'll get to that coming up. It is the best YouTube chat in sports. We will have Greg Silver in the 8 o'clock hour along with Joseph Dykus. But let's get to the people here as we get it rolling in the 7 o'clock hour on this Wednesday. The YouTube chat off and rolling as they always are here. Let's get to our first installment of Kyle's Clicks. Gene replying to Max, one of the regulars here in the chat. In the playoffs, you need skilled athletes. They drafted Moody and JK instead of Trey Murphy. I don't know how you missed that draft. Yeah, the Warriors are still, unfortunately, reaping the benefits or the negative components of the misses that they've had in prior drafts. And again, you end up with Wagner and Murphy, and maybe we're having a different story, conversation. But as many point out, who's to say that Murphy and Wagner would have developed with the Warriors? I think they would have, but who's to say that they would have at the level that they have in other places? And you look at Wagner with Orlando, and you look at Murphy, obviously, during his time with the Pelicans. Let's keep it rolling here in the chat. Good one to start us out. Imagine next season, only teams in the West who likely won't be trying are Memphis and Sacramento. That's it. Wow, it's interesting. I always think, I always think there winds up being more teams than you anticipate that end up tanking. And I think you look at the standings. Utah, by the way, said they weren't going to do it this year. And then they wound up, as things kind of went awry on them, they wound up, they were like, yeah, we're going to do it. So that was one, you look at Utah, that's a team that kind of joined the fray a little bit later as far as the tanking goes. But I don't know. I mean, I think Dallas could try, depending upon where things shake out for them. I think the Pelicans could say they'll try. I mean, there's going to be a bunch of teams that are going to say they're try, but I guess you're right. Like you wind up, Robert, with a lot of those teams that say they're going to try and then they wind up tanking. But yeah, again, the Warriors can't be in the mode that the San Francisco Giants, I feel like, have found themselves in here since they had that ridiculous 2021 107 game win season, which is let's just get in. Let's just get to 83. Let's just get to the, let's just find a way to get that extra wild card. And the version of that in the NBA is just, get to the play-in. You got to be got to be better than the play-in. You got to be better than the play-in, and you got to build a roster that, having that as a safety net is not a means to look at yourself as you assess and think that you've achieved something. And so I think like that's the concerning thing, like looking at, we can make play-in. Again, you like having it in your back pocket, but you're not winning squat out of the play-in. Like it's just, it's not happening. But yeah, I think you look at it and, I know you're saying more teams are going to try next year, Robert, and that's going to make the West more difficult. But I do think what ultimately happens is you see teams that maybe have the intent to try and then wind up tapping out as things go on. And so I think maybe it's not as many as 5 teams like it has been this year, but it's definitely going to be close to that. I think when it's all said and done. Let's keep it rolling here. Fozzie, 10 of 43 from deep, ain't going to cut it. This team needs players who can knock down threes. I still think that plus a creator, ball handler, guy that can get his own offense and get offense for others, that and shooting are the top 2 things that the Warriors need in this offseason as they look to improve. I still think they need a third best player that isn't necessarily currently on the roster, as we discussed a ton the other night. But to me, it's if you can find that third best player, and I don't even think he has to necessarily be an all-star. Like, can you find somebody that's like a Wiggins? Can you find somebody that's that level of impactful? It doesn't have to be a star, but needs to be somebody that is better than the rest of the guys you've got, and not somebody that puts the pressure on Porzingis. That is the number one need. But beyond that, Fozzie, to bring it back to where you took it here in the YouTube chat, beyond that, I agree with you. I still think this team needs shooting, because you look at even, tonight, Brandon Pajemski. It's just the bad nights for Pajemski. We do this all the time, and I don't mean to belabor it or crush the guy, but the bad nights for Pajemski are always because he can't hit a freaking shot. Always. And it's like, give me the guys, like you need guys that can do a bunch of different things. It's great that he can score a little bit and he can rebound a little bit and he can move the ball a little bit. Although I think we all can see as he's played more and more that he's definitely not a lead. He's definitely not a lead guard or a point guard or even a backup point guard at this point. But give me the guy who can knock down the shot. And I'm with you. I don't think the Warriors have enough of those guys. I think if anything, Kyle, there's been some games where even without Steph and Jimmy, they've shot it pretty well from 3. And it kind of makes you wonder, do they have enough shooting? And I still don't think they have enough shooting, especially when you get into the realm of projecting toward next year with Draymond and how's that going to look and the different combinations of players that have to play with him. Maybe not necessarily Porzingis or Horford in terms of the bigs if he's going to play the 4, but more the wing guys that he's going to be out there with if he's not going to be out there necessarily with Steph. So you can never have too much shooting, Kyle. That's the main point I'm getting. You can never have too much shooting. And tonight, it's like the one thing that can keep you in a game when otherwise you're competing, but you just, the ball is finding the wrong guys.
Whose blueprint the Warriors should try and copy is the Boston Celtics.
Oh my goodness. Is this a good take? This is a good
because
take.
Because look, they have their star player and we'll use Jimmy Butler and Jason Tatum. Right? Who, if you look at it, Jimmy Butler might come maybe a little bit earlier than Tatum, but in the second half of the season. And yes, you're getting an MVP level performance from Jaylen Brown, but then, and then that would equate to Curry. But then look who the Celtics have surrounding Brown versus who the Warriors have surrounding Steph. He has Derek White, the always gonna lead the game in plus minus. Derek White, and then you have
Derek White's awesome.
No, he's great.
You know who Derek White is?
He's what Pod's like
Derek White,
ceiling.
Yes. You took the words right out of my mouth. Like, he is the guy that would be an absolute dream if Podziemski could turn into Derek White. Like, if he could be that guy, it would be an absolute dream. I don't think Pods is ever going to turn into to Derek White. But anyway, I'll let you continue. You know who else? You know who else you would love? Like, what's the difference? All right, I apologize for cutting you off here, but Peyton freaking Pritchard. Like, what's the difference between Pods and Pritchard? Pritchard makes threes and actually kind of gets in his bag and gets his own shot and knocks down shots more than Podziemski does consistently. Like, both of those guys, you're like, can Pods be a Derek White at some point in his career? The answer for me is probably not. Can Pods be a Peyton Pritchard at some point in his career? And I think the answer, unfortunately, is probably not, even though Pritchard really doesn't do a ton else. I mean, he can get assists and things like that. Podziemski does other things, but give me the shot maker, Kyle. Give me the shot maker. All right, continue.
Yeah, I mean, if you remove
a great point.
If you remove Tatum from that lineup, it's who do they have? Well, it's Jaylen Brown at the head of the snake, and then it's Derek White and Peyton Pritchard. Well, the Warriors don't have a player that can step up into a number 2 on any given night, and that's as consistent as a Derek White. And they don't have that 6-man scorer that can give you 20 off the bench like a Peyton Pritchard. And they had that. They had that with Poole. They had that with Poole. Poole and Pritchard's game are I would say pretty similar.
You're onto something here with this modeling the Celtics, but it's like Derek White is exact. He is the Celtics' third best player. Right? It's Jaylen Brown. It's Tatum now that Tatum's back from the injury. Like, Derek White is the Celtics' third best player. He's a starter. He's a jack of all trades. He doesn't always hit the 3 ball, but a lot of times he does. But he's getting rebounds and he's guarding up and he gets steals and he can move the ball. Like Derek White's just a winning freaking player, right? At every level. Derek White, that type of play, that's exactly the kind of player that I'm talking about. Like, if you're going to wait for Jimmy and you're going to obviously continue to have Steph and you like Porzingis and you like a lot of these other guys that are, younger, even though none of them are proving to be, building blocks, foundational pieces, whatever it is for the future. And I think we can all agree. I mean, we're playing it out here through the final 13, but I think we know, like, Podziemski's never going to be a star. Moody's never going to be a star. Quentin Post is never going to be, like, none of these guys, some of, Guy can be they're all rotation players in their own right. Maybe Post is less consistently a rotation player, but none of these guys, like, can they get to the Derek White level? And again, who cares about that? Because if they do, it's going to be, 3 years from now or 2 years from now anyway. So it's going to not mesh with the window, which is, what can you do basically next season if you're the Warriors in the true last dance portion of it. So that's to me what it comes down to. But it's, can you find a Derek White like that? Can you find a guy that could be your third best player that's clearly better than all the young guys you have, that takes some of the pressure off of Porzingis? Like, it doesn't have to be an all-star caliber player to be able to move the needle enough to where you can kind of believe in this team. And then to your point, Kyle, it's the shooting. Peyton Pritchard's a shooter. Sam Hauser's a shooter. Like, Garza comes in and can shoot it a little bit. It's that ability. Keita can do some things in terms of scoring around the basket and rebounding and altering shots and different things. I think the Warriors are actually pretty comfortable as things currently sit with where their bigs are. But it's guys that the Warriors have guys that do other things, I think, maybe better than Pritchard and Hauser. But you know what? The shooting a lot of the times is how you win those games, especially in the regular season. So great Great conversation. Let's keep it rolling in the chat. Good stuff there from Kyle. No cap. The thing is, Kyle, Brad trades picks when he took over for Danny Ainge. He said, I don't care about trading first-round picks if it makes our team better. Brad traded a first-round pick and a pick swap for Derek White. Exactly. Bingo. No cap. Straight up. That's 100% correct. To get a Derek White, you're going to have to trade maybe a young player and a pick. And again, I don't mean Derek White specifically because the Celtics like him and he's a pretty damn good player and a winning player and all of that. But, that it comes down to the big picture conversation that we have every single night, which is, how does this team decidedly get better? And the way for them to get better is being unafraid of being able to move on from those draft picks and not clutching them. No cap. Joe would have never signed off on that. That's the difference. And the Celtics know how to draft. And look, the Celtics, I mean, you look at, they got Jaylen Brown and they got Tatum early. Again, we're talking about number 3 picks in the draft. Basically, both of them, right? Were number 3 picks in the draft, I believe. Tatum and Brown were both third.
I believe so. Yeah.
So number 3 picks in the draft, but is it development or that's the thing? Like, is it player development or is it just looking for a specific skill in the guys that you acquire that can help you win? And I think that's the thing where. If you're the Warriors, the Warriors don't have, if Podziemski could hit shots like Pritchard, think of how much better the Warriors would be if Podziemski could hit shots like Peyton Pritchard does. Like, think about how many games the Warriors would win if that was the case. Think about how many games the Warriors would have won if they had one more guy. And look, I don't think Sam Hauser's some great player, but think about how many games the Warriors would have won even pre-Jimmy and Steph injuries if they had a guy like Sam Hauser that could just spot up and kick it out to. Now, the flip side to that also is, how good are your stars defensively to be able to hold up having, some of those guys out there. But again, I feel like, and look, Guy's, can Guy Santos? I think that's a question. Like, Guy has been like a mid-30s to low 30s 3-point shooter, I think, in the time in which Steph has been out with Jimmy. Can Guy Santos, with those guys playing, meaning better quality shots, or at least with Steph playing, better quality shots, can Guy get that percentage up to, from the low to mid-30s up to like 37.5? 38, with more quality looks. Like, Guy Santos to me feels like a Celtics player. Like, he really does. Like, Guy Santos, like, Kyle, you're talking to Guy Santos among the guys that the Warriors have that feel like they're Celtics guys. And obviously Porzingis literally was a Celtics guy, although that was a veteran and somebody that played on a bunch of different teams. Doesn't Guy feel like, and again, he's not the 40 plus or 45% 3-point shooter. I don't want to get it twisted, but doesn't Guy feel like the most Celtic type of player that the Warriors have among their young players that they're trying to have grow?
Oh, he reeks of or oozes Celtic. But to my point, the Celtics also do what the Warriors do well as well, which is draft in the second round and undraft. I mean, if you look at who got meaningful minutes for the Celtics tonight, it's Shireman, it's Garza. I mean, I know Neemias Cato wasn't a drafted guy, but what wasn't a guy selected highly by whatever team he came from.
You remember Neemias Cato's claim to fame?
No.
Do you remember his his major claim to fame? What it was? I mean, this is uber G League knowledge. He famously or infamously destroyed James Wiseman in a G League game when he was playing for Stockton. It was like a Wiseman going down to Stockton to play against the G League, whatever, the Stockton Kings or whatever, and Cada had like 30 and 20 on him or something. I mean, it was ridiculous. Like, I can find the number. Like, it was asinine. It was like, oh my God, like this guy's like better than Wiseman. And so again, this was like 4 or 5 years ago at this point. But yeah, that was, and then Sacramento ends up not keeping him, and Boston winds up with him. And he obviously has been a really productive player for the Celtics. All right, 808 KMBR 415-808-5627. Let's keep it rolling here in the YouTube chat. It's Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader. JD, that's why LeBron is a bad fit. The Warriors are stuck in 2015. They need to get versatile players. Trade Dre for 2 specialists. I just think it's got to be a little better than specialists. I think it's got to be better than specialists. But I think it's 1 specialist and 1 guy that needs to be your 3rd guy. But I'll take LeBron. If you can get LeBron, give me LeBron, and then trade Dre for a specialist. Although, again, if LeBron's coming, I don't think Draymond's going anywhere. I mean, that's the one thing we know. If LeBron's coming to the Warriors, then it's not going to be a situation where I think Draymond Green is necessarily going to be leaving. But I refuse. I reject the whole premise that LeBron is a bad fit. Like, think about that. Like, I know it's 2026. I know LeBron James is 41 and going to be 42 in December. But, like, think about that, Kyle. Like, LeBron is a bad fit. LeBron is not a bad fit. And by the way, I think LeBron's been kind of quiet quitting throughout a good chunk of the time that he's been back from the sciatica, although he's having a big first half, I think, in Houston tonight as the Lakers are getting on a roll and leading the Rockets 47-36 here as they approach the midpoint of quarter number 2 at Toyota Center in downtown Houston. Let's continue on the phone lines. Our buddy Danny in Vancouver jumping in to join the conversation here at 808 KMBR on the Sports Leader. What's going on, Danny?
I'm head Canadian sicko, I assume, right? But not that sick.
Yes.
But I watched this whole game because I was taping it, and I just you just knew, right? After the 3rd quarter, so I left. But I'm here till the end for you, JD. Okay. Just want you to know that. So.
Well, I appreciate that. Are you a Canucks fan? You got to be a Canucks fan, right, Danny?
Honestly, I don't.
No,
I don't love hockey. Okay.
Okay.
It sort of peaked for me quite a few years ago. I'm not a fan.
Okay.
So I'll go to the odd game.
No worries.
But I know your Sharks are doing great, so that's great.
They're doing great. No, they've had a bunch of bad years, and they've got a lot of really talented young players. So it's the payoff of all the bad years, at least you hope. But anyway, I was gonna say, like, you are a sicko if you're a Canucks fan in 2026. That's all I was gonna say. But if you're not, that's okay too.
I'm not that sick. Regarding the game, by the way, of course, LeBron would help. It's a ridiculous statement. Anyone who doesn't think that, I'm sorry. With all due respect, anyone who doesn't think LeBron would help, he's great. Even if he's at 80%, he's still great, and he would fit in. So, my thought on that. So, bad shooting night. I'm just wondering, just to be fair, JD, just one question and a comment on pods, but. I was thinking if they had Moody back and Horford, they at least would have some shooting, and I thought, they could be at least a little more competitive. I mean, they just shot so poorly, and I'm just wondering if it's maybe a little unfair to be so harsh on the Warriors at this time with all the injuries have. So just first question to you was, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, again, I mean, I thought tonight was not like an effort thing at all. I just think they were overmatched. I mean, I kind of ran through the whole, Jaylen Brown's the best player on the floor, and Tatum, that was the best game that Tatum's had in the handful of games that he's been back. Derek White, as we've talked about him, I'm a huge fan of Derek White's game, always kind of have been. And look, the Celtics, I think, had the 5 best players on the court tonight. And you could have maybe bet that they would have had the 5 best players on the court tonight at tip-off here at 4:15 Pacific time, whenever it tipped off. So, yeah, I don't want to be too harsh on that. But and you're right. If Moses Moody's playing, maybe they hit a couple of those shots, and maybe a 10 or a 12-point game is more like a 4 or 6-point game, or even closer than that. And Horford's not going to be back for a little bit. It sounds like, which is unfortunate. So yeah, not a lot of grandiose takeaways from tonight. Honestly, it's just give the Celtics credit. They're a well-run operation, but they're a well-run operation that isn't exactly untalented when you look at. I mean, they still had Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and Derek White playing tonight. Like that. Like those are 3 really good players that are playing. To sort of set the foundation. And when you have, 2 or 3 guys like that, you don't need your role players to necessarily provide as much, to your point, as the Warriors do right now. So that's kind of the first thought on that.
To wit on your point, look at how White played in the Olympics when they won the gold medal, and Tatum and Brown were on that team, and Tatum was sitting. So, I love White. I think he's just incredible. I think he's underrated, actually. He's so good. So and in comparison to, well, not comparison, but sort of the measuring stick with Pods. I don't want to be too harsh on him, because I know, trending, he's been playing better, but I just think there's enough sample size now, JD, that he's never going to be anything other than maybe a solid role player. He's just not, he just doesn't have that consistency. I know, I can't remember who said it, but maybe it was Kerr, about, the difference is that the established players who are consistently good game in and game out, they'll have the odd stinker, but Pods, I thought he was just horrific tonight. He's herky-jerky. He's not really fooling anyone. So, I wouldn't be crying tears if he was traded. And I just think that's what it is. I don't need to see any more. I thought maybe the last, dozen games, maybe he was trending up. He was going to take a step up, but curious what your thoughts are. Thanks, JD. Have a good night.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it, Danny. Thanks for chiming in. 808 KMBR 415-808-5627, the number to jump in and join the conversation here. Yeah, I do think we've probably seen enough from Pods to know that he's not gonna be too much better than he is now. The one thing, again, I hate sounding redundant on it and repeating the same thing over and over. It's the shooting. It's just the ability. It's the shooting. Like, he's a good rebounder. He's a good passer as a secondary passer. Like what do we know about Pods? He's not a lead point guard. Like, he's not a starting point guard. I don't think he's ever going to be a starting point guard. Can he be a starting 2 guard? Probably not, if he's going to shoot it as inconsistently as he does. Is he a backup point guard? Maybe, although I don't think he is right now. Like, that's the one thing I would give him. I think he can grow into maybe being a more capable, like, true backup point guard. But he's really a backup second guard. He's kind of your 4th guard, or he's your 3rd guard if you're a combo guard, but you need another guard that can maybe score a little bit, coming off your bench, because he just shoots it at this point so inconsistently. So it's the shooting, to me, that's the issue for Brandon Podziemski above everything. And, can you improve that? I guess. Players throughout their NBA careers have improved shooting, but what the greatest indicator of the ability to improve your shot is, though, Kyle? Like, what is the greatest indicator of your ability to improve your shot? I'm going Booker Barnett here. I'm going old school. I'm going Jim Barnett. It's your free throw shooting. I know you were going to say that. I
was going to say that because I totally had the freaking image in my head of Pods missing like 4, going 0 for 4 from the line in Utah.
If you can't shoot free throws, then the probability of you turning into a greater shooter overall is less likely. And again, we're here. This is year 3 now for him. And again, he's not a bad player. He doesn't stink. He gets too much ish from the fan base. Like, all those things can be equally true. But it's a scenario where at some point you got to show it. And again, let's just call it what it is. Like, he's a better player now than Moses Moody was in Moses Moody's third year. He's a better player now than Jonathan Kuminga was in his third year. He's a better player than James Wiseman was in his third year. But he still doesn't do enough to where you think that the ceiling is going to be high enough. And what's the one thing that he doesn't do? Yes, there are a bunch of maddening things. But if he just hit freaking shots like he was closer to Peyton Pritchard than the numbers he's at, then he'd be a damn good player. He'd be a guy that you think maybe could be your fourth best player at some point. I mean, even Jordan Poole, and again, they're different players, but Jordan Poole's first year was 1920. Jordan Poole's first year was the COVID year that got wiped out right around this time 6 years ago. His second year, so he went to the G League bubble. He came back his second year when Clay was still out and fans weren't still allowed in Chase, and the Warriors had that 39-33, 72-game year where they were lost in the play-in, and Steph was awesome. Jordan Poole showed then in the final 2 months of that year after he came back from the G League bubble that he could be a legitimate scorer and a threat to shoot and play make and all those things. And Podziemski still to this point has not shown even that level. That was Poole in year 2. Jordan Poole and Kyle, I've gone through this and people don't remember, and it actually terrifies me that we're in 2026. Like 2020 was 6 years ago. Like, seriously? Like, what? But Jordan Poole, his rookie season, was maybe the worst player in the NBA. Plus minus, shot selection, shot making. Like, Jordan Poole was like a bottom 10 player in the NBA in his rookie season. Jordan Poole, by the end of his second season, this guy could be a third guard off the bench. And oh, by the way, by the beginning of his third season, he was starting with Steph on a title contender and coming off the bench as a third guard and starting with Klay Thompson on a title contender down the stretch because Steph was injured and had to get himself right for the playoffs. So the point I'm getting at is, and this is the same point that we've gotten into about Kuminga and Moody and Wiseman and everybody else, the great players, for the most part, if they're going to be great, they show you quicker than by the end of your third year, and Pods ain't going to get there by the end of the third year. We know that. 13 games to go. I've seen enough. Like, we've seen it. Pods is just not going to be a freaking good enough shooter. So then what do you do with Pods? That becomes a whole nother conversation. All right, 808 KNBR. Let's take a timeout. We're going to come back, and we're going to get our Sounds of Dubs OT in here next. We'll get more in the YouTube chat between now and 8 o'clock. Great comments from the YouTube chat here on this Wednesday night. And then Greg Silver's going to join us. We're going deep tonight. We got the early games, so we got an expanded edition of Dubs OT. I'm keeping tabs on the Nuggets and the Grizzlies. Nuggets are down. The Hawks are going to win again. They're 11th in a row. We'll get you Jonathan Kuminga update on his game in Dallas. And we'll also keep you posted on the Lakers and the Rockets. Joseph Dykus from Boston as well. I don't know what he's doing calling us from Boston at 11:30 on a Wednesday. Like Joseph, get to the north end, my friend. But he is going to stop by coming up at 11:30. So we'll continue here. 808 KNBR if you want to jump in on the phone lines. It's Dubs OT with JD right here on the Sports Leader.
Dub Nation, this is the real and inside story on Warriors basketball. Dubs OT with John Dickinson continues. Streaming live at twitch.tv/thesportsleader.
I think that's gonna be the excuse for us, like, of course we're fatigued, but everybody else is fatigued because everybody else has 82 games too. So for me, I don't use that like, of course I'm tired and all that, but that should not be an excuse. As soon as we step in on the court, we gotta perform and do our best. Doesn't matter how tired we are.
The sound? I don't see the sound. All right, welcome back. Dubs OT with JD. That's Guy Santos there talking about the Warriors. Interesting conversation post-game about lack of being prepared, basically, for the Warriors as they lose tonight in Boston, 120-99, the final, as the Warriors fall to 33-36. And we'll have Greg Silver coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627 is the number. Let's get a couple of chats here. I know we wanted to do our sounds at Dubs OT in this segment, but we can reconvene. Let's do some chats. Let's do a shorter segment. We'll do some chats. We'll do sounds at Dubs OT coming up. We good with that, Kyle? I know we played Guy coming back, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, we don't have everything logged, but that's on me. We were too busy talking about other stuff during the break, Kyle. So my bad. I'm gonna own that one. So let's do some chats. We'll keep the momentum going. We got an extra long show tonight. Fozzie, we got too many 8, 9, 10 players on this team. They're getting a lot of opportunities because of injuries, but there's no reason guys like Pods and Pat Spencer should be on the same team. Look, Pat Spencer's Pat Spencer's a great guy. Pat Spencer's worked his ass off to become an NBA player and earn that full-level NBA contract. But Pat Spencer is an 11 to 15 player on an NBA roster. Like, he is a third-string player. He is not a backup point guard. I know there were, 2 games in December where we thought, oh, he might be. He's not. Like, Pat Spencer's, great story. He is a fringe. He is 11 to 15 on an NBA roster. Yeah, you've got guys that are starters, top 8, top 10. Pat Spencer is a 11 to 15 player on an NBA roster. Brandon Podziemski is I think, top 8 player on an NBA roster. Top 8 players don't necessarily, for the most part, they play every night. But the level at which he is somebody that can function on some nights as a 4 or 5 option. But then I think most, is he a true 6th man? No, he's really like a 7-8, honestly. He's not your 6th man. You don't want him to be a starter. Like I said, you don't want him to be your lead guard. But again, let's not act like Brandon Podziemski's some freaking scrub either. I'm going to draw the line there. Brandon Podziemski is a solid NBA player in his 3rd year and still pretty young. I know he's frustrating. I know he doesn't hit shots. If he did hit shots, he'd be somebody else. We'd all like him a little bit better. But, what is Guy Santos? Is Guy Santos a top 8 player? I think Guy Santos is a top 10 player. I think Pods is a top 10 player. Top 8 to 10. I think Guy could be top 8 to 10. I think Moody's top 8 to 10. But you know what I think about all 3 of those guys? In a perfect world, they're bench guys. They are all guys who could sometimes start. But if you've got a real good team that can actually make some freaking noise, then they're coming off your bench. And I think in a perfect world, they're even farther down in the pecking order than 7-8 or 6-7 as it relates to that. So, yeah, they're getting opportunities. And I think the one benefit, Fozzie, from them getting opportunities is the fact that we once and for all kind of know now what Brandon Podziemski is not, frankly. We know, is Moody. I think Moody's a more consistent, potentially sometimes starter than Podziemski is. I think Guy probably is more of a bench guy. But the one thing about Guy is Guy's shown the ability to level up when guys are out, which is something that Podziemski and even Moody really up until this last little stretch before he got hurt had never really been a level up guy. And Podziemski's never been a level up guy. Guy's kind of been oddly a level up guy. Like he can fit his game in the box when you have everybody, healthy and available and be a capable 9-10 guy. But he can also sort of pretend like he's a 6-7 guy when you have a couple of guys out and he has to move up the pecking order a little bit in terms of the rotation. All right. From Fossey, we go to Wardell Tron 30K. I like it. I always like the newbies that chime in the YouTube chat. Can you have a starting lineup that can't play back-to-backs? A nightly question. I mean, yeah, it's like I've said, in a perfect world, you'd have Porzingis and Horford split those. But then what do you do with, you have Draymond and Guy split those, or you have Guy and Jimmy split those with Draymond. In a perfect world, Melton would be a starter, although I don't think you necessarily want Melton to start. And that's kind of what I'm getting. Like in a perfect world, would I rather start Melton over Pods? Yes. But in a perfect world, they both should be coming off the bench, even if Melton's a $15 million a year player. So Steph, Melton, you don't know who, I guess maybe Guy, Draymond, Porzingis. Is that do anything for you as far as your starting lineup for next year? I don't know. I think there's one guy currently that's not on the team that they're going to have to find to throw to that mix and drop everybody down a peg. But yeah, they have to figure out how to get enough players in the fold that they're not battling with a complete team of guys that can't play in back-to-backs. Thank you for being a newbie in the chat, and we appreciate it. Mickey D, you need to add a first-rounder to get rid of Draymond. Okay. Of course. Okay. And? Sure. Yeah, you're right. I would do that. I know a lot of Warrior fans wouldn't do that. And again, it's not get rid of Draymond. Like, I want to rephrase that. It's not get rid of Draymond. It's use Draymond and that salary to bring back a player who can be more impactful than Draymond. And if you have to add a pick because it's going to be a younger player potentially at a high level salary, then you do it. So again, it's not get rid, but the whole thing comes down to the willingness to give up picks for next year. Because we can talk about how you like this guy and you don't like that guy, and this guy can perform, and if and buts or candy and nuts, right? Like the whole thing, like that, you can go through the whole thing. But the truth is, like, you can't run it back with this same roster and wait for Jimmy. You can't. You're a player away. Is that player LeBron? Is that player Trey Murphy? Who is that player? Derek White level in terms of talent. Obviously, the Celtics are not giving him up. But what they have is not going to be good enough, even if you like a lot of what they have. All right, let's roll through here. From Mickey D, we get to JC Mack. The Celtics are aligned with what they're doing organizationally. They have the players the coach needs. Totally agree. They also have, and again, the thing that makes this work for Boston is the fact that they have two young stars. And I know Tatum's coming off the injury, but they have two guys in their prime that are stars, in Jaylen Brown and Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And then they have that third guy who's also young prime in Derek White. And then they have specialists beyond that. So the Warriors actually don't even have the two. The Celtics are kind of at the mode where, like, think of Steph and Clay from like 17, 18, if Durant wasn't on the team. And then you had to like specify different types of role players. Like, they'd still be really good, maybe not title winning good, But you'd still have Steph. You'd still have Clay. If you don't have KD, maybe you still have Harrison Barnes. Maybe you still have Livingston. You still have Iguodala. Like, now you wouldn't have KD, but you'd have some other role players that potentially make some sense. But again, that's 8 years ago in terms of where, Steph and Clay would have been in comparison to where Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown currently are. No cap. If they blow the cap space, if they blow their cap space on Jimmy and Draymond extensions, I'm done, man. They're not extending Jimmy Butler. Like that ain't happening. None of those guys should be re-signed, nor should Pods. Melton inconsistent. KP always hurt or sick. Don't extend anyone. Well, if you kind of need to bring Porzingis back and you need to bring Melton back, I'd bring those two guys back. Jimmy's not getting an extension. The only way Draymond's getting an extension is if he takes less money. Like, Draymond's not getting it. Like, if Draymond gets an extension, you're wiping out the $27 million for next year and you're turning it into like 45 for 3 with maybe a team option for the third year, to where if he isn't still a productive player, you can get out of that, or non-guaranteed money potentially for the third year. So I don't think you need to fret about that, no cap. I really don't. But yeah, that Jimmy's not getting an extension. I'd take Poole back over Pods right now. Wow. Dig him. Could you do that? Could you let bygones be bygones and have Jordan Poole come back into the Warriors locker room? I think probably not. But also look at, what is Jordan Poole's contract still? Life comes at you fast. Believe it or not, would you believe, Kyle? Would you believe that Jordan Poole, the last year of his deal is next year? Would you believe that? Like, that's insane.
Yeah, wow. Well, how much is he making? Like 20? In the 20s, definitely, right?
Jordan Poole?
More?
Jordan Poole?
Yeah, Jordan Poole.
Jordan, you want to know what he's making this year, or you want to know what he's making next year?
Well, let's do both.
All right. Jordan Poole this year, 2025-26. Be ready to be amazed. Jordan Poole's making $31.8 million this year. 31.8. You know what Jordan Poole's making next year, Kyle? You're pretty good. You're pretty good at math. The Berkeley education.
Scared.
$34 million. Jordan Poole's making $34 million next year. He will be the second highest paid player on the Pelicans roster, eclipsing, and he already is. He's right up there. He and DeJounte Murray are right there in the same level. Zion next year, 42-1. Jordan Poole, 34. DeJounte Murray, 32-7. Trey Murphy, 27. Look at Trey Murphy making 27 compared to Jordan Poole. Unbelievable. 4 and 120. Come on now. I thought Kyle was actually going to get it because of the raises. Like, it's like the 5% raises or whatever it is, or the 3.5% rate. Like, I thought that's where Kyle was going to be like, oh yeah, 34. I actually thought Kyle was going to be like, oh yeah, 34. It's all right. That's all right.
They don't teach you NBA contract math at Cal Poly, by the way, JD. Not smart enough for.
I thought you were Berkeley. You're Cal Poly?
No.
That explains everything.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm a dumb. But my dad went to Berkeley, like Greg Silver's dad. So we kind of grew up going to the football games and whatever.
You went to get yeah. Okay, all right. So you don't claim them. You know what?
I'll claim Jaylen Brown though. Give me some Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, I'll bet you will. You know what? I actually like you more. I actually like you more, Kyle. I like you more. But yeah, I don't know why. I don't know where I got it twisted in my mind that you were a Berkeley Berkeley grad.
I think only because I bring up Cal as much as I can.
By the way, shout out to you want to talk about guys doing big things. Shout out to my guy Ryan Coogler. Shout out to Ryan Coogler for winning a freaking Oscar. And Kyle's like, "What do you mean? Who?
Do you claim
Sac
him?
State wide receiver, brother.
Oh, that's right. I saw a post about that. Yeah.
Sac State wide receiver, Ryan Coogler. Anyway, yeah.
Do you claim
Oakland guy, I believe, as well?
Yeah. Do you claim Larry Krueger?
I claim Larry Krueger. I claim Sam Amick. We're everywhere, man.
The Sac State pipeline. Wow, how about that?
We're everywhere. Stingers up. Tom Hanks, I believe. Kyle's gonna be blown away by that one. No. Anyway, yeah. 4-120 for Jordan Poole going back in the day. All right, let's take a timeout. We're a little overdue. Greg Siller is going to join us next, and then we're going to do Sounds of Dubs OT, and Joseph Dykus is going to join us. We got the whole thing dialed. Warriors lose 120-99 right here on the Sports Leader.
Dubs OT with John Dickinson keeps rolling. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
Tatum against his former teammate. Thought about the step back. Now crosses him over, drives, and finishes. What a gorgeous play by Jason Tatum. He looks back, and the Celtics lead is back to 13.
Yeah, Jason Tatum looking good. Celtics in complete control tonight as they beat the Warriors 120-99. It's Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader. We'll roll this thing out for another hour or so here until 9 o'clock. And just one of them nights for the Warriors. They did lead by 4 at one point, but the Celtics would lead by as many as 26 and cruise to the 21-point victory. All right, it is the 8 o'clock hour. Let's we're joined as promised earlier this afternoon on the Papa and Silver Show by the great Greg Silver here on the Sports Leader. We're getting the band back together. What's going on, Greg?
Yeah, what's going on, fellas? I'm probably overdue to be back on this, but JD has been Mr. the Sports Leader, and so I had to just decide that, you know what, if he can overdo it beyond the 4 hours, I can do it too, and we didn't even have a full show today, so, I mean, come on, what's my excuse?
Yeah, and Greg said, hey, dude, are you going to keep me the whole hour? I'm like, no, I'm not going to keep you the whole hour. I'm not going to keep you the whole hour. Of course not. But we are going to keep you for this segment, and we certainly appreciate it. I was doing the math in my head here. You said Mr. KNBR. I think that's actually somebody else. We don't need to talk about that.
But that's true. That is a name that's been taken. You're right. Yeah, I'll just say that is our true machine.
And I don't want any part. And I don't want any part of that name. So if that's the way it's going to be, I don't want any part of it. So by the way, this is day 10. This is day 10 of 13 in a row for those scoring at home. And I know you're probably not. Kyle might be. This is day 10 of 13 in a row here. A couple of doubles. Some nights it's just Dubs OT. Some nights it's with you 10-2. But man, I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way.
No, I mean, you sound like fresh as day 2, so I wouldn't be able to know it's day 10. But I did know you had the 13 straight. So Warriors cramming it in on this road trip. So makes sense between that and our Papa and Silver show. But I'm glad that you at least get the Friday day show off while everything gets to just kind of pivot over from this road trip. And I'm watching America's team right now. Miami of Ohio might get out of the play-in after being the last team in. So, hey, every day offers something new.
You know, it definitely does. And look, the big thing, I thought Kyle made the best point of the show to this point. We've been on since about 6:40 or so here after the game. And, you know, Kyle said, hey, you know, JD, the team that the Warriors need to try to model themselves after is the Celtics. And you look at a night like tonight where the Warriors just don't have enough talent, number one, but don't have enough shooting. And it sort of led to this more lengthy conversation about the fact that, you know, Brandon Podziemski does a lot of things really well, but he just doesn't shoot the ball like a Peyton Pritchard. And if he did shoot the ball like a Peyton Pritchard, you'd think that he'd have the capability of maybe being a third best player on a team. And that right now is the type of player that the Warriors are searching for and don't have. And I've sort of given it the benefit of the doubt as far as the final, 13 games here now after tonight as to this time without Steph, which is dwindling because it sounds like Steph's going to come back maybe a week from tonight, maybe 2 weeks from tonight, somewhere in between, those two markers. But Podziemski is he does a lot of things well, but the shooting is the thing that he doesn't do well enough. And you've got the Celtics at a different point in their evolution with, being a more recent title winner, with having Jaylen Brown and Tatum, obviously younger players, but they just have guys who really fit in the ways that make you a better team over the course of an 82 game season, which is be able to put the ball in the freaking basket consistently from the perimeter against a league where 33% of the teams on a night in, night out basis are tanking.
That's a really good point by Kyle, and I hadn't really thought of it that way, but I know that earlier in our show, we were reflecting back on the 2022 finals, and it's interesting to think how these two franchises have diverged since then. Now, it's not necessarily a surprise that the Celtics have been a more successful team, right? The Warriors have had their best players only get older, and they were at the back end of sustaining one of the greatest stretches of basketball that we've ever seen. The Celtics, meanwhile, I mean, Jaylen Brown was starting to become a really good player, and just watching him tonight, man, I know our focus is largely on the Warriors, but just watching that game, I couldn't help but notice what a great player he's become. Like, he was second team All-NBA 3 years ago, but now without Jason Tatum for the bulk of this year, and Tatum finally came back, but Brown is someone who has just become an all-around playmaker in addition to a pure scorer. And, you know, to your point on the guys that can shoot, your Peyton Pritchards, I think I saw 7 different Celtics are averaging career highs in scoring, which, yes, some of that is to be predictable because of the Jason Tatum injury, but it also speaks to the fact that you got to be able to score in today's NBA. And I think the Warriors play really hard as they are right now. I think that they at times look like they're really locked in defensively. I don't even necessarily think they look like a poorly coached team, but it's also clear that they don't really have guys that are going to be able to give you 25 reliably and get to 28 and push 30. And I think Jordan Poole, when he was traded away, like, that was what you always looked at with Poole as the next guy that could be able to do that, whether it be on a night where Steph wasn't available and Klay was getting older, or he could even do it alongside those guys like we saw for really key stretches of 2022. So Podziemski, back to your point, he's like the most prominent example of a player that not necessarily a disaster. I know he's an easy target for a lot of fans, and he's productive in a lot of different ways, but being someone that you can just pencil in to go and score you 28, or maybe on a really good night, he'll get hot and score 37. Like, that's just not the player that he's been, and literally has never hit that 30 mark. It doesn't mean he's a bad player, but it just means that you got to go and find a source of offense from other guys, and this team just doesn't have it.
He's just not that guy. And Jordan Poole had shown by the end of his second year that he could be that guy, you know, going to the COVID bubble and all of that. And look, I made the point, going back through it, and a lot of people don't remember because it was 6 years ago now, but Jordan Poole was one of the worst players in the NBA in his rookie year. And by the end of his second year, you're thinking, man, this guy could be a combo guard off the bench. You know, maybe not a true backup point guard, but the kind of guard that you want to have that can handle the ball as a lead guard. Like, you don't necessarily need a true backup point guard if the guy playing that role can create for himself and create for others. And Jordan Poole, by the end of that second year, again, 2021, the year before the championship year, had shown that he could be that guy. And I think had shown more promise, more upside at that point than Podziemski has to this point in his entire career now. As we approach the end of year 3, Moody, Kuminga, all those guys, I think kind of factor in. And look, Podziemski in his third year is better than Moody was and Kuminga was and Wiseman was. But that doesn't mean that, he's where you need him to be as far as kind of becoming that. I've characterized it as this, Greg. And the other point that Kyle kind of led us down the path toward was the Warriors don't, in my opinion, need, if they're going to wait for Jimmy, if they are going to wait for Jimmy Butler to come back from his injury in the middle of January or let's say February, if it's closer to the All-Star break in 2027, I don't necessarily think they need another second best player to get them through, but they need a third best player that is better than everybody that they have on the roster. Whatever you think Porzingis can be, whatever you think Horford and Melton have been, whatever we now know, in my opinion, that Podziemski and Moody and are not, you need that guy. And I feel like, even a player like Derek White kind of fills that role, even though he's not a traditional high scorer. So, and obviously that's a high-end player. That's not a player that you can just go get. But I think as the Warriors sort of map out the different ways that they can look to improve this team between now and October, like they cannot think waiting for Jimmy without adding somebody that can, help the rest of this group along in the half a season, or maybe even, 5/8 of a season to 2/3 of a season that they're going to have to play without him, and just expect, like, you can't run this back without Steph. Even if you bring the veteran players back, it's got to be somebody younger. It's got to be somebody more impactful. In a perfect world, it would be somebody more dynamic. I'm saying all these things, Greg, and then I'm also saying it doesn't have to be an all-star, but it's got to be better than everybody basically that they have on the roster not named Steph or Jimmy.
Oh, I'm 100% with you in that regard. And I mean, I think you said it well on our show when we were getting somewhat into this conversation, when Porzingis was starting to play a little bit better. And that's, even if you get the Kristaps Porzingis that you got to see a great flash of against the Washington Wizards, you can also not really go into next season expecting him to play more than 55 games in a given season if all goes well, between the illnesses and the injuries and his lack of availability over the last 3 seasons. Like, I think 55 is like an optimistic kind of benchmark for that. So say you're waiting for Jimmy and Steph, by the way, him and Draymond, you're not going to pencil in to be playing 65 games. So that's kind of where you do get into this younger player discussion. And I actually think that the Derek White example is a really good one. And he's a wildly underrated player that I think maybe over the last year or two, and certainly after the Olympics, I think finally got his due. But as the Celtics were continuing to become a really good team and be that championship contender following the loss of the 2022 finals, like, Derek White was a guy that could do everything. Oh, and by the way, he was going to make any open shot on a given night. So the Warriors are in this weird situation where they don't really have consistent shot creators, and they don't really have consistent shot makers for all that matter as well. I mean, I think Will Richards, the type of player where you can give him an open look and he might be able to consistently knock him down on the wing. But I think about your Guy Santos and your Moses Moody, like, they all feed so much with just Steph being on the floor. And that's Steph alone, even Steph without Jimmy, because of what he does to a defense and what he does to tire them out and the space and the gravity that he creates. But without that, you're asking guys who aren't really pure scorers to also be able to create and knock down open shots. So a player like, back to the Pods thing, he can do a little bit of everything. But when you talk about the Derek White of it all, that's a guy that defends, that's a guy that's a playmaker, and that's a guy that on a given night can actually be a scorer too.
Yeah, and I think that's, again, it's the type of player that you have to be willing to look to trade future draft capital for. And it's been the kind of player that I feel like the Warriors have been reluctant to want to move draft capital for. It seems like the perception has been that if it's not going to be some kind of a superstar player, then you don't want to trade draft picks for guys that are less than superstars. The one thing I know, and look, I'm actually relatively, at least before the initial, Porzingis debut and then the lengthy absence, and I don't think Porzingis played particularly well tonight, other than the first couple minutes of the game. He had a couple blocks and he did some things early, but I think overall he what wasn't his best game. That's fine, but it happens. But like, you can be of the belief that Porzingis, bring him back and try to convince Horford to come back and re-sign Melton and do all those things. I'm on board with all of that. Like, do all of that, but it's not, none of it is like that. It's not nearly enough if you're not going to look to add from the outside. And the only way you can add from the outside is cobbling a couple of young players together. Is it a Moody and a Podziemski and a pick? Is it, yes, I'm going to say it, even though Draymond's going to get mad at me, is it Draymond and a pick or multiple picks? Because Draymond now, with Kuminga gone, has the greatest salary, if you're not going to move on from Jimmy, that you'd want to, or that you'd have to throw in any kind of a deal to bring somebody back. I think the Warriors, independent of the guys that we just mentioned, independent of maybe LeBron, wanting to come and join the Warriors. And I do think it's going to kind of be the summer of LeBron in terms of, the courting of LeBron and where does LeBron want to go? And ultimately, is it with Steph for a year? Is it Cleveland? I don't think it's going to be back to the Lakers. I will say that. So,
and we know it's also going to be the summer of Giannis, though I don't think Giannis is going to want to come to Golden State. But with all the headlines going on there, it's like, all right, he's going somewhere.
Yeah, but here's the thing, man, and I'll like, okay, maybe it's not Giannis, like, or maybe somebody else gets Giannis. Like, I was watching San Antonio. I've been watching San Antonio a lot. I watched San Antonio last night. Like San Antonio, to me, like, they are the team that if they come up a little bit short, and I don't know how Giannis and Wemby, my God, like, can you imagine? But like, they are the team that has the picks and the young players to go get them if they come up short, if they lose in a second round and get upset, if they lose in the conference final, whatever it winds up being. I actually am starting to convince myself, as we've talked about a little bit, that they might be able to win it this year. But if they don't, do they run it back? Do they look to move? Like, they have everything. They have a high-priced, youngish player in Fox. They have picks. They have a lot of really good young players they could put with Fox. So like, they've got all the options. But like, from the Warriors standpoint, like, okay, let's say it's not Giannis. Well, that doesn't mean that just doesn't mean you don't do anything. And I think too often it feels like the Warriors are unwilling to do anything else if it's not going to be Giannis.
No, I'm completely with you. Remember when we had that crazy intersection of Radio Row Super Bowl week and the NBA trade deadline coming up? And I think you just filled in for the last hour and a half of a show when Pop had to go and check on his medicals. And we were kind of starting to preview the trade deadline, not really sure if Giannis was going to go anywhere. We'd actually talked to Marcus Thompson on Monday of that week. He thought he was going to be moved that week and predicted Minnesota. And then we saw Minnesota clear all that salary cap and everything. Anyway, that's all to say, we're kind of sitting there and thinking, is the plan Giannis or nothing for this front office? And if that was the case, that's completely unacceptable, because I think Giannis was going to be a long shot to begin with at the trade deadline. Now, to their credit, they did do something. Now, as to how that's going to age, we're gathering new information every single night. And at the beginning, it was a disaster. Then it kind of evened out. And Kuminga had a pretty efficient game tonight off the bench as the Hawks just continue to stack wins. So I guess that's really neither here nor there. But yeah, I'm with you in the offseason. It's the same kind of sentiment as the trade deadline, where it can't just be like, okay, maybe they have a shot to get Giannis. Maybe there's an outside hope here. Start thinking about plans B, C, D, and E, because that's a pretty thin hope on a plan A, even if I understand philosophically with the Steph timeline why you still have to put your hat in the ring.
No question. And so and look, it sounds like Steph's coming back, which I think is a good thing, although we did get our nightly caller and a bunch of nightly text as to, like, what's the point? And I feel like I have to re-explain every day, basically, like, look, the Warriors are not missing the play-in. Like, there's no, like, they are in. Like, it is, we're down to, like, I know Kyle brought up the Pelicans. If you want to pick the Pelicans or the Grizzlies or anybody, they got to go like 10-3. And that's if the Warriors lose every game. That's if the Warriors lose every game. Like, the Warriors are going to be, and they did fall into 10th tonight. Portland won at Indiana. The Warriors got beat. It's going to be hard to find wins. Atlanta won their 11th in a row. Kuminga played again, so he's even with Porzingis now in terms of games played. I think they both have played 6 and 6. Kuminga played well again after 2 bad games. He had 16 tonight. He's historically played well against Dallas. Hit one of the craziest shots you'll ever see. Did that count? That did count.
Oh, I didn't catch that one yet.
Okay, so he threw like a baseball pass from one end of the floor all the way down at the end of the quarter, and it went in the basket. It was like a 90-foot shot. And
with no intention of like shooting the ball. It was a football like pass.
It was like a
it was like a
foot, and It was to, who was it to? I didn't even see who it was. I was just watching the highlight actually before you came on.
I didn't see.
Tonight.
I think it was a big though.
Anyway, it was like a chuck. It wasn't even a shot. It was the end of the quarter. And it went in, and I couldn't tell because I was just watching it on social media. The ref like made some kind of signal and like waved some, so I couldn't tell if it counted or not. There was time left, so I thought it did. And Kyle obviously confirming that it was like one of the longest. I don't know, maybe it's out there on social media. We've been doing the show, but it's one of the longest shots made in NBA history. But he had 16.
The court's
plus
94
10,
feet. So if he's right about 90, like it's got to be. I don't know how many more could beat it. That's amazing.
Yeah, no, it was legit. Like it was like in the mid to high 80s. I'm sure when it was all said and done. You want me to talk for a minute, Greg? Here, I'll dig up the official
74-foot 3-pointer.
Okay. That doesn't seem quite right. But I guess if you have a couple of feet on each end, and the basket does stick out a couple of feet. So that seems a little
what the
low.
longest shot of Steph's career is. Like, I don't know if Steph's hit 74.
Yeah, that seems a little. I mean, the one that stands out was the 3/4 court one in Memphis, right? In the playoffs is the one that stands out.
And he had
to me,
another one
6
against San Antonio that was about opposite free throw line. But yeah, the Memphis one, game 6, was unbelievable. I'm gonna have to look that up too. I mean, well, now that we have all the free agency stuff going too, can we say Jonathan Kuminga's the best quarterback right-handed in Atlanta?
He might be. I think he definitely is right-handed. I think he definitely is right-handed. As you look at what it's Tua now and Penix, a couple of the lefties in play there. So Greg Silver joining us here on the Sports Leader. A couple of more minutes with Greg, but yeah, this thing. I mean, Steph's coming back. And we'll get with Joseph Dykus, who's going to join us coming up here in about 10 minutes from Boston. He was on hand at the Warriors shoot around. Steph was going through a workout. That was kind of the big. We'll get some injury updates as well, as far as Horford and some others. But Steph is getting closer to a return here. They are also 10th in the West now, and Portland was a nemesis even for the Steph Jimmy version of this team. But I don't know. I mean, you've been aligned with me, I think, in terms of like, come back, like play it out. Like there's no real downside in it. But just kind of where are you sitting as far as what's left here? Not a lot to get into about tonight. I mean, I thought they were just overmatched, but just, kind of the general takeaway on something that a week ago felt like, I don't know. I always felt he was coming back, but it seemed like some of the reporting and everything that I'd heard was that he was going to be coming back. It felt like some of the reporting was maybe behind that with all of the discussion about would they shut him down, that kind of thing. But it's pretty much for the last week been unequivocally he's going to come back. And it's just a matter of, will it be a week from tonight or 2 weeks from tonight or somewhere in between?
Yeah, it's interesting. And I would say that is the best long-term outcome for the Warriors season to get in the play-in tournament, either lose that first game, lose the second game, and say you get a draft pick that's somewhere around 11 or 12. Yeah, well, I haven't done a ton of digging into the draft, but just from what I know and starting to watch a little bit more college basketball, I think it is one of those draft classes that's projected to be a little bit deeper than what we've seen in a couple of recent years. So maybe this isn't the worst year to have a pick in that territory, and obviously getting in the lottery. We saw Atlanta do it when Zachary Risachet went number 1. We saw what happened with Dallas last year in Cooper Flag, which seemed awfully conspicuous with the Luka Doncic trade and everything, but I digress on that front. I understand how if you're looking at the long-term outlook, yeah, they're probably not going anywhere this season in terms of winning a playoff series, right? I get that. But I also think that that's for us to say, and that's for our perspective. From the perspective of a Steph Curry, I always go back to what Sam Amick told Murph and Marcus a couple of weeks back about the irony of how the Warriors were kind of on the precipice of playing what felt like meaningless basketball, and that's exactly the opposite of what Steph Curry wants. it doesn't mean that just because this season's probably not going to result in a deep playoff run, Steph's going to want to come back. Like, it's never felt like a thing where Steph has been taking his time. He wants to shut it down. He has people telling him to sit out. Like, this isn't a Giannis situation of what we just had surfaced today about the Bucks want to shut him down and he wants to continue playing. I think everyone's kind of on the same page where, look, if he can come back, why not see what happens? Maybe you can win a game in Portland. Maybe you can get out of the play-in tournament. And maybe without Jimmy Butler and Steph, possibly a little rusty, that's just not in the cards for this team. But because of how many teams have just been committed to the act of tanking, JD, I don't really see the point in just saying, well, you know what? We're going to shut it down to be a steadfast number 10 seed, 6th worst in our conference, and to go and lose a play-in game. Why not just have him come back if he's intent on playing and healthy? All right, cool. See what happens.
Yeah, and if he comes back and he re-injures something, then it's over. I mean, you just shut him down. You move on. Last one here. Jokes on you in the chat. This was something that I had kind of bookmarked, and maybe we can get into it a little bit tomorrow. Lou Williams said the Warriors have no young foundational piece. Agree wholeheartedly. I mean, they have no. I mean, we've been like Lou Will. I love you, brother, but you've been eating them lemon pepper wings at Magic City for the last 2 months. I mean, for the last 2 months, or maybe the last 2 years, we've been talking about the fact that the Warriors don't have any foundational piece. At least the last 3 months, among the guys that are currently left, and that was couched as kind of a Kuminga conversation as well. You know, since he was traded, we don't have to make it about that, but I think it's a no-brainer. The Warriors have no young foundational pieces. I think they know it. Again, it's just a matter of, are you going to lean into the guys that you do have that have been foundational pieces as opposed to just kind of having that different version of the same that we've been talking about?
I think that's where a lot of the angst comes from, truthfully. I don't think it's just simply it's a dynasty that they're clinging on to and the inevitable is coming. I think it's also Steph still plays at such a high level on a lot of given nights when he is out there and is still so far and away the best player. And Jimmy Butler is so far and away their second best player. And I know you and I also did this on the show, but I'll repeat it for the night crowd. Let's just go up and down the list of the best Warriors players for this season. It's been Steph. It's been Jimmy. Then I know Draymond's had his moments, but he has largely struggled in that regard. And then we're legitimately looking at a DeAnthony Melton and an Al Horford. And then you could maybe talk about the nice contributions of a Moses Moody. And I think Guy Santos is someone who rightfully deserved that contract. But like everybody that you truly trust and rely on with this team, they are minimum. How old's Melton? 27, 28. But with the injuries, he feels older than that. Like it's just a lot of middle-aged, as far as basketball goes, middle-aged to older players. That's been kind of the crux of this whole discussion.
No, it absolutely has been. And so, you know, again, it comes down to like, what are you going to do to look to try to become better than that? And our buddy No Cap, I wouldn't bring Steph back. All the kids won't beat anyone in the play-in. I wouldn't risk it. Potentially getting a good pick. No thanks. All they get spanked by OKC. Although I've had the joke with Marcus Thompson as he joined us a couple of days ago. I texted him after and I said, you know, Steph is going to win in Portland. And like, you know, Steph believes he can win in Portland and win in Phoenix. We've seen the Warriors win in Phoenix and beat, 3 of 4. The Clippers have been up and down. Like, who knows if Kawhi'd even play in that game? Coin flip there. Like I could just see Steph going Davidson Steph in 2 play-in games to get the Warriors to OKC. And you're right, that would be ugly. And you certainly would hope there's no kind of season-ending issues that injury things that pop up that could screw up next year for you if you do it. But I could absolutely see the Warriors winning the 2 games in the play-in tournament, even without Jimmy. I really could.
I mean, Steph loves playing in Portland in particular. Like, that's one where I think, okay, win that game and then you get a shot at an 8 seed. So I hear what you're saying. I wouldn't pick them to contend with OKC in a series by any means, but we know how Steph rolls in terms of his competitiveness and his priorities.
All right, Greg, appreciate you, man. We'll let you be on that note. We got to get to a timeout and Joseph and Sounds of Dubs OT and Fun with Numbers and all of that. So we'll talk to you tomorrow at 10 o'clock, my man.
Absolutely. You are the ultimate machine, and I will talk to you real soon. We'll do it another 4 hours.
All right, Greg Silver joining us here, Dubs OT with JD. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, and we'll push toward 9 o'clock. Joseph Dykus from Boston, and then more of your comments from the YouTube chat, our sounds at Dubs OT as well, as we roll on. Warriors lose 120-99. We're talking about it on the Sports Leader.
with more blue and gold. This is Dubs OT with John Dickinson on the Sports Leader. Streaming live at knbr.com and on the KNBR app.
All right, welcome back. Final segment. Dubs OT with JD. Warriors lose 120-99 in Boston. Let's go out to a man who covered the game in Beantown. Joseph Dykus joining us again here for the second straight game on the scene for the Mercury News. Joseph, what's going on tonight?
A lot was going on, and I would say that the game was probably the least interesting part of the whole night.
Yeah, no doubt. The Warriors just pretty much overmatched from start to finish. And the Celtics, a well-oiled machine here, now adding Jason Tatum back into the mix in addition to Jaylen Brown and Derek White and their role players who performed at a pretty high level here. Let's start with Steph and go back to this morning and in the early afternoon in Boston, the shoot-around workout for Steph. Give us the update on what you were able to see and what you think it all means here toward Steph's potential return.
So shoot-around happens in the morning. It's just they're basically, like I said, shooting around. We get in, and Steph's in the corner just shooting threes, standstill threes. He's wearing sweatpants and a sweater. It's nothing strenuous. Takes a few shots, and then he gets done. He talks to team Dr. Rick Celebrini. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. That's cool. We get there, go to lunch, do some work, get there around 4, so really early. Walking past the court, at a corner of, actually, it was Kenzo Fukuda, clutch point, his eye. He's like, is that Steph? And I'm like, wait, it is. We go out there, and Steph is at that point doing his actual, it looked like his full shooting warm-up or shooting routine, the one that he's obviously made iconic throughout the years where he goes through all different shot types, different distances. He looks good. Knee looks fine, or looks, again, in my not medically expert trained eye, he looks good. He looks like he's making progress. And yeah, that was before the game. Steve then says, okay, he's going to be reevaluated on Saturday, as we've known for quite some time now. And he will not elaborate any further than that. Has he done any contact drills? Evaluated on Saturday. What's the extent of how much he's worked out? Evaluated on Saturday. So that was the Steph update. It was on the court now, doing pregame shooting routines, and it does look like he's getting ready for a return.
Again, there's no firm answer, and obviously, I'm not asking you to report on this. It's more the educated speculation and your opinion as somebody that's been there, around this team for the entire year. Does it feel to you like it's on the table for Steph to return when they get back home on Wednesday against Brooklyn? Is it wait and see maybe within the next week, or is there any shot that you think maybe he could get back even before then?
I can't see him returning before they get back home and play Brooklyn. Even then, that might be a little bit early. Just because the way the Warriors do things, they're not going to have someone who hasn't played, and really it doesn't sound like he's done 5-on-5 and things like that. They're not just going to throw him out there when he gets reevaluated on the 21st. But maybe after a few days of working out and doing team drills and whatnot, maybe they do put him out there. 25th, maybe that's a little bit ambitious, but that's certainly on the table.
Well, and it's interesting because I think you look at the schedule and the layout of like when would there be an official practice, right, that Steph could even get into, and it wouldn't be until they're probably not going to have a practice until even if after that game against Brooklyn, even if they do. I mean, the reality is they might not have a practice until like the 31st of March if they really. With the games coming so rapid fire and the travel and all of that. Like I could see them not having a practice, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I could see them not having a practice until after they get back from Denver on the 29th, and then take a day and then practice maybe the day before they play San Antonio on April 1st, which is 2 weeks from tonight.
Right. And I guess the other thing I wanted to bring up is
Sure.
after the game, Steve Kerr said what we've all kind of known for, I'd say, a few weeks now, which is they're going to be in the play-in. There is essentially a 0.0001% chance that they are going to avoid the play-in. It's going to happen. He said verbatim, we have to be prepared for the play-in. And they just slipped to the 10th seed because the Blazers own the tiebreaker. And Draymond, I'm going to censor myself, he said, "Oh, we did? Darn, that stinks," was the gist of what he said. It is looking more and more likely, again, Steph comes back, they win some games, maybe they push past the Blazers. It is looking like they're going to play likely the Blazers in the playing game in a few weeks. Whether that's in the Bay Area or whether that's in Portland, still to be determined. But I thought it was very interesting that after, a month, not longer, of kind of saying, oh, well, we could still maybe get the 6th seed and avoid it. Or he said the 6th seed, that's not happening. And the 7th seed really isn't a realistic possibility either at this point. It's maybe they can get to the 8th seed. He said give ourselves 2 cracks at it. You lose the first one, you still get the second game. But if they stay in the 9 or the 10 seed, they lose it. It's over.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think it's, they don't want to say it and haven't said it, and I can understand why they hadn't said it, but their realistic shot of the 6, I think it ended when Jimmy Butler went down. It absolutely ended when Steph Curry went down and then was not ready to come back for the Boston game, the first time that these two teams played a month ago, coming out of the All-Star break. So I'll spare them that. I get it. They're being politically correct. They're trying to keep fighting, but it was over a long time ago. And I think even the 7 was over at that point. I agree. Still being
I agree.
Yeah. Final one for you here before we let you go and get on into the night in Boston, Joseph. Just what was the night like for Kristaps Porzingis? I saw the video you posted about the tribute. Obviously, he was the video tribute there on the scoreboard at TD Garden. He was a big part of the championship team 2 years ago for the Celtics. What did you think of his night overall? What did he have to say about his night overall? And just the way that he was treated as a guy who helped the Celtics win their most recent title.
He still has a lot of love for Boston. He compared the city of San Francisco actually to Boston with better weather. He said he loved his time there. He told us he wasn't going to cry with the tribute video, and from what I saw, he didn't. But raised his hands to the crowd and waved. It's a well done video. Good feels all around. After the game, you can see him talking to Jason Tatum and chopping it up with Jaylen Brown and Derek White and all the Celtics. On the court, in terms of how he played, he blocked 2 shots to start the game, hit a 3, and we're all like, oh, maybe he might be in for something. And he ends up with 11 points and shoots, I think, 2 for 7 from 3, 1 for 7 for 3, something like that. Not his best shooting game, played about 20 minutes. Had some nice moments defensively, but you can see the rust is still there.
Definitely. And so it's kind of a work in progress. He'd come along here the last couple of days. I think the most important thing, Joseph, at least for Porzingis at this point, is just the ability to continue to play every game. Maybe not obviously back-to-backs he's not going to play, but, play one of these next 2, be able to play in Dallas, be able to just kind of keep the every other day, as long as the Warriors don't have a back-to-back, keep playing. I think at this point that would be a win, just proving that he can play, 90% of the non-back-to-back games the rest of the way. Final thought to you on that real quick.
Yeah, I think you hit it nail on the head. You're just hoping that he can play. You're hoping he can play the rest of the games, not counting obviously both legs of the back-to-back. Can he stay healthy? Can his energy level be high? He actually said that he thought he was a little bit too amped up today. Don't blame him. The crowd was really into it. crowd gave him a lot of love. But yeah, that's kind of what we'll be keeping an eye on as the season winds down. I think we have 13 games left, so that's what I'll be looking at.
Yep, 13 to go, and on to Detroit and then Atlanta before Dallas. Joseph, thank you so much for taking a few minutes out, and we really appreciate it. And we'll talk to you again here soon.
All right, sounds good. Thank you for having me on.
All right, Joseph Dykus of the Mercury News joining us here on the Sports Leader Dubs OT with JD as we roll through toward the finish line here. As the Warriors lose 120-99, but some good news on Steph. A very nice ovation by the Celtics crowd as well there at TD Garden. So let's get to our sounds of Dubs OT here. It'll be a quick, rapid-fire edition of that. We'll get to some final Kyle's clicks and call it a night here as we head toward 9 o'clock following this Warriors loss.
KNBR presents the sounds of Dubs OT.
I can see the headline now. Kerr says Warriors better without Curry.
No class, no ball.
I want to get my joy back. I'm happy here, off the court.
Now here's John Dickinson.
All right, quick, fast, and in a hurry. Shams Charania of ESPN on the pregame show, as this game was an ESPN telecast tonight, a part of their Wednesday night package. And so Shams was on talking about the latest. We got a lot of this from Joseph, but things always tend to leak a little differently to Shams. Here's what he had to say about the potential for a Stephen Curry return and where things sit.
Malika, there is cautious optimism that Stephen Curry will return to the lineup at some point by the end of the month. And that's after, I'm told, he had a strong on-court workout Tuesday afternoon in Boston, starting to run, cut, move, take some slight contact, like the Stephen Curry again that we know. The most important part, though, is he's not experiencing the swelling that he's had over the last several weeks or a month ago when he needed to get a PRP injection, from my understanding, due to those knee issues. So now it's about him building on this conditioning, getting more and more comfort in that knee before he's able to make the call to make it back on the court.
So there you go. Steph potentially back here before the end of the month, and we are 2 weeks before the end of the month as well. So let's move forward from Shams to Steve with the latest on Steph and just kind of where things sit with Al Horford and Moses Moody as well.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Steph. I can tell you that. And I know he's going to come back and do his thing. He's been doing this for too long. He's in great shape and working hard. He'll be fine. It's a matter of, again, being prepared for his return, Al's return, Moses, being prepared for that time is everything for us.
And there you go. And that kind of aligned with what we were just talking about with Joseph Dykus and the sort of acceptance that's gone on within the Warriors locker room, which again, I think, if they're coming down to acceptance on being a play-in team, you were going to be a play-in team 2 months ago. So let's just, acknowledge that here. But it clearly now is that it looks like Steph is going to be coming back. It's try to ramp everything up to get to that point where you can go to Portland or play Portland at Chase and know that you're going to have to almost NCAA tournament style win a couple of games to look to advance and try to get to Oklahoma City. All right, here's one more from Steve Kerr on the game tonight and just where things got away against Boston.
One step forward, one step back. I don't think we're there yet. I think it's going to take more than what we're showing right now. I think our guys are playing hard. It's easy to get discouraged when you don't have the firepower that we're missing right now, because it kind of feels like you have to be perfect. And it's a hard thing to play through 48 minutes where, you don't have the shot making, the explosiveness to go on a huge run. So you're constantly having to do the right thing. So if we handle this the right way and we sharpen those things up, we can be finely tuned for the play-in. But like I said, the efforts there. Yeah.
All right. So there's Steve Kerr on that as far as it leads to going toward the play-in. And again, here's what we touched on a little bit with Joseph as far as what's in play here and the 6 and the 7 and all of that. And sort of the reality check that became a big part of the theme of the post game.
Yeah, I mean, we've had our eyes on 6 for a while, and that's out of the question now. I mean, we're not getting there. And so if we can string together some wins, try to get to 8, that'd be ideal. Get 2 cracks at it. But we're not getting to 7. We know that. So I've been talking about this theme, not in such precise words like I just used, but over the last few weeks, I've been telling the guys we have to build our habits and be ready for when we get guys healthy again, and because then we can just really have the firepower that can be complemented by a foundation of good habits, good fundamentals. And like I said, I think there's a lot of stuff we can improve upon, but at the base of all that is your spirit, energy, confidence, and we got to work on that too.
All right, so that's it. Gearing up here, and it's going to get tougher. The Hawks have won 11 in a row. They're going to want that game for obvious reasons. The Warriors are going to play Detroit, who's the top seed in the Eastern Conference, and then you got Dallas still before you come home a week from tonight against Brooklyn. So trying to keep the momentum together and then infuse Steph back into it and potentially Horford in the final couple of games of the regular season is going to be a huge part. All right, let's get a few Kyle's clicks. That's our Sounds of Dubs OT for tonight. We'll go ahead and skip fun with numbers because I don't think there's really anything too fun about the way things played out for the Warriors tonight. I mean, they were never really in the game throughout the course of what ended up being a 120-99 loss. All right, let's get the best of the best here, Kyle. I'm putting it on you in these final 2-3 minutes. San Jose Jazz fan 8, are the Warriors passive tanking? No, they just aren't very good. Again, I'm going to try to go one sentence on all of these here. JD, I knew about Guy first.
I'm the one who was on to Brock before anybody else was.
I like that. I was on to Guy before Guy was the Guy star. All right, let's keep it rolling. All right, hat tip to you. Tatum in Game 5 already looks 85%. Yeah, Tatum looks good. I am stunned that Jason Tatum looks as good as he does, given the fact that he went down when he did. But he looks really good. Could the Celtics come out of the East? They seem a little thin in terms of overall depth. I know we're crediting the Hausers and the Pritchards, and somebody was coming down my road screaming in the text line, JD, Pritchard shooting 36% from 3. What the hell are you talking about? He's 39 for his career. And he's had multiple 40-plus seasons in his career as well. Robert Brown, he must have finally found a silver lining. Is that in reference to our buddy Greg Silver? He finally joined the show?
Yeah. Our buddy Greg Silver.
Our buddy G. Silver. We appreciate him. And, of course, I'm going to be on with him tomorrow as well here on the Sports Leader. Let's get to our comment of the night.
Now, time for the Dubs OT comment of the night.
We don't have a player that start for the Celtics. Our current best 2 players came out of their trash bin. Oh, my. Yeah, they moved on from Al, although they wanted to keep Al. And then they moved on from Porzingis. And, wow, you look at a team doing a reset in a year where they lose their best player, and then their second best player may become their best player, and then their second best player comes back, and they reset everything around their young players, and they kind of don't miss a step. Pretty impressive what Boston has done to get to this point where they could come out of the East this year. And I don't even think anybody at all would have expected that. All right, that's going to do it. Kyle, appreciate you, man, as always. We'll talk again on Friday, as we'll be with you right around 7 o'clock. Warriors and the Pistons. Again, another slightly expanded edition of Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader Friday. We're back on Saturday with just Dubs, 1 hour, and then we're at the Kuminga Porzingis showdown on Saturday. That game, I think, tips off at 5, so we'll be with you right around 7:30. So a lot of Dubs OT and Dubs coverage coming Friday and Saturday, but join me with Greg Silver tomorrow from 10 until 2 right here on the Sports Leader. I saw Jordan. Who else do we need to thank tonight?
Yeah, we got some Jordan. We got some Cole running Cal basketball in the NIT, which
okay.
I'm a Cal guy, but I'm not a NIT guy. I'm
Yeah,
just not.
You can't get down with
It's the losers bracket.
Yeah, you can't get down with that. So for Kyle and Cole and Jordan, we appreciate everybody. Thanks in the YouTube chat. We'll talk to you tomorrow. We'll talk to you Friday. We'll talk to you Saturday. We're keeping this thing rolling 13 in a row for your boy. I wouldn't have it any other way. Dubs OT with JD right here, the Sports Leader. John Dickinson.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No!
Big.